Hey, what's the deal? It's your folks, Shaka. I wanted to share my thoughts with y'all real quick. So, yeah, I wanted to speak about this Jeezy and Nia Long conversation. You know, it's a hot topic. I've got a few inquiries about it. Initially, I did not get around to it because if you follow the message, we have decided to go about dropping exclusive content on this platform a little differently due to some of the issues that we have had. Um, and so, one of the things that we are doing, speaking about this video, is in response to the last video that we believe did okay for the little video channel with Holly Bailey. Um, we are going to drop an exclusive video on here in response. Okay. And so if you want to see more follow-up content like this, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the information, as well as share your thoughts below. All right. Grown folks only, no adult children. All right. But just getting into it, they sat down and had a conversation. Now, in my opinion, there was a whole lot of pandering from Jeezy. Okay, it looks like dude was trying to get women to buy his book and at least maybe check out his album. And you know, when I was looking up the content, I caught a post by this girl Chrissy who was detailing just that. You know, how she believed he was doing a lot of pandering. And the response to that video was fitting. Okay, dude was just doing a whole lot of pandering. But we're gonna play some of these clips between him and Nia Long. Okay, which some of the conversation was about her. She was very engaged. She spoke a lot. And we're going to speak on some of the things that they are saying. I think that it's a good backdrop to share a few greater messages. And so let's go ahead and hit play, stop, and speak on what they say. Let's go.
So you were saying that you feel like we can't connect because we're doing too much time fighting each other.
Absolutely.
Instead of fighting for the relationship.
Or fighting for love and understanding and commitment and compassion. But it starts with men.
And the question that I always ask is, why is it always about a fight? Okay, it's not about fighting, man. It's about working together. Okay, all right. Fighting is probably the last effort that you're going to make. Okay, when you have nothing else to do or say. Okay, it's the last thing, and that's just the fact of a civilized life. Okay, all right. There are a lot of other things that you can exercise, okay, and invest in, okay, before it comes down to fighting in order to receive a constructive result, okay? But it's most definitely about figuring out how to work together. This is never talked about, okay, in the so-called black community, all right? And that is by design. We're going to speak a little bit more on this here within this video. Okay, that's why it's never entertained. It always comes down to some theatrical term about fighting. All right, it's about working together. Okay, and you know, I say this all the time. This is the reason why you cannot allow these entertainers to be a representation, okay, of much of anything, okay, outside of a TV screen. Okay, especially being spokespeople for what black problems are and what we need to do to resolve them. Okay, because that is a major problem. And they do this by doing things like this. They put people like this in this uh, quiet, nice looking room. These are people that you like, all right, and how they are expressing themselves is very receiving. And so a lot of times you just, whether consciously, most of the time subconsciously, you take it and run with it, all right, and then you're out here trying to make it a reality, all right, doing and giving nothing to your community. And that's just the truth of the matter, man. But it's not about fighting, it's about working together. But let's go.
Feeling, comfortable enough to be vulnerable and open. And that's a hard thing to ask a man to do because we were not conditioned that way. A lot of us weren't raised that way.
And I just wanted to stop right there real quick. In my opinion, these kind of conversations, in my opinion, her really just insinuating the asking a man to open up, it kind of is like she's suggesting that that's the problem. Okay, that's one of the problems. And in my opinion, you can't have these constructive conversations if you're not sitting down speaking about what role you're playing, okay, in the situation, okay, and why you believe the role that you're playing, all right, in the situation is the cause for the negative reaction that you're getting from the man, and the man do the vice versa. He's at the table doing the same thing. I think that that's one of the things that kind of like has to be there at the table in order to come to a constructive compromise. Okay, it's one of the many elements or ingredients that has to be there. And so her just saying that really is just like whatever. It's the typical fallback line that you hear. Okay, this is one of the problems, you're not being vulnerable enough. I mean, a lot of times it doesn't even make any sense. And when you hear the average definition of what that means, it's suggesting that the man needs to step away from his position, okay, that the Most High placed him in, and be of some type of construct that this society wants him to be. All right. And so, yeah, let's go.
Can be considered a sign of weakness in the same way that therapy is considered a sign of weakness. We're talking about your experiences and my experience.
And they always say that therapy is considered a sign of weakness. Therapy, in my opinion, by most, is not really considered a sign of weakness. Okay? That's just something that they bring to the table to really cover up one of the issues is people just don't really attach to therapy like that, and for good reason, okay? Because the truth of the matter is, unless you're receiving it within community and culture, all right, therapy on average is not really effective, okay? In our opinion, it ain't nothing but a cash grab. And another thing that it is a way to deceive black people away from what they really need to be focused on in order to fix the collective problems within the black community. Okay, it's like you don't focus on the construction of micro communities and cultures in addressing these various different things the correct way. Nah, that ain't it. It's just that you crazy. You need to get some help. All right, and that's just what I think about that. And this is the reason why these celebrities always are saying it, okay? But you don't ever hear them saying, hey, we got a network of people cross country or whatever that so-called black folks should probably check out because they are fixing the problem, okay? That's just not what it is in a commercial level, meaning outside of community and culture. When it comes to mental health, it's a revolving door, okay? And we've talked about this before, but let's go ahead and hit play.
We have more in common than we probably ever thought we did. right? And so to me, that's the thing that makes me feel this sense of urgency to have this conversation with you, but also there's a hopefulness. There's a hopefulness that if we actually each do the work, we can actually come together, because there's nothing.
I mean, somewhat what she said, it kind of made sense, even though when we talk about this conversation in a nutshell, in my opinion, they weren't really talking about much of anything. Okay, it seemed like a bunch of promotion talk to some extent, but kind of like what she said towards the end there was somewhat true. It made some sense. If we could come together and by way of playing the roles that we should play, there's definitely light on the other side. The grass is definitely greener, and it ain't artificial turf. Okay, all right, but what has to be done in order for that to play out? Okay, and why is it not being done? And why is it not playing out? Those are the conversations that the majority do not want to have. But let's go ahead and hit play.
More important to me than Black people.
Right.
We are the greatness in every room.
Right.
We are the ones who set it off and make it happen. We are the ones that create the culture. We are the artists. We are the artistes. We are the voices that lead the masses. But what has always hurt.
And she is right about a lot of that stuff. Now, I would say I don't know how important so-called Black people are to her, considering where she's at. Okay, all right, because I don't care how sincere they sound, the side that they take is in existence. Okay, a great part of it is in existence to keep so-called Black people last. Okay, this is how they bubble. And so, I'm not really sure about what it means when she says that's so prideful, but a lot of that stuff so-called Black people are. Okay, the problem is, and I said this on a video that I'm going to share here if I didn't share already, so-called Black people typically use all of those things, okay, not to see the so-called Black community better tomorrow, okay, whether socially, economically, spiritually, health-wise, or whatever. They don't use it for that. They use it to be closer to these other groups of people, okay, and be a part of their little circles that so-called Black folks are convinced or deceived into believing are better. All right, and that's just the truth of the matter. And so I just really wanted to stop and say that. But and that's the reason why it doesn't really mean much of anything to so-called Black people. All right, all of that stuff that she said. All right, that's crazy. It collectively comes from us first, but we benefit from it last. Okay, that's something to think about. But let's hit play.
Me to the core is, why is there this dismantlement of the Black family? Why isn't it that Black men and Black women can't sit like you and I are sitting in a space and have really open dialogues about things and work through the trauma? Because that's the only way we can really be productive.
And so I really wanted to stop and speak about that right there, because a lot of times so-called Black people collectively, y'all do not want to have these conversations about how we got here. Okay, she mentioned the Black family or whatever. Nobody ever wants to have these conversations. The reality of it is that was not a part of the deal with civil rights. Okay? And see, that's where these entertainers end up kind of like hitting themselves in the foot or whatever, because they'll make this statement and at the same time they'll stand for things like, you know, civil rights, MLK, and things like that, when the truth of the matter is that was a part of the deal. Okay? The black family, for the most part, being non-existent or dysfunctional. And you know, y'all used to talk about this a lot over there on that other platform. The civil rights was created so that other groups of people, okay, all right, would benefit from so-called black people. Okay? Before even so-called black people would, for real. Like I just mentioned. That's what it was about. And so one of the parts of the game was to break up the family. And I had kind of broke this down a little more on TikTok. They pretty much did this. They broke up the family, and I think the name of the movie is Claudia or Claudine. You can kind of look at a theatrical way they did this, but they got the man up out of the house, okay, broke up the family. They put the so-called black woman, you know, in for the most part, you know, housing projects and things like that. They gave some of the black women good jobs and homes and things like that. And they placed all of these industries around her. Okay? Where she didn't need a so-called black man anymore. Okay? She could replace it by spending her money externally. All right? That's a great part of what this game was about. And in order for it to work, okay, the so-called black family and the inability to sit down and be constructive like this woman is talking about here, that had to be a part of the game. And you know what? Your heroes and stuff like that, MLK, even Malcolm X, especially if they were the smart men that y'all claim that they were, they knew that this would be the thing. Okay? That's what I was telling y'all, man. But what mattered more to them, okay, was being a part of those other folks' circle. All right? Just like the rest of the sellouts that sold you the civil rights and was all in with the opposition, who was all on board, and they set it in place because they knew what it would be today. All right? And so that's one of the primary reasons why I wanted to speak on these clips here, because she made that statement, and that's the truth of the matter. But a lot of y'all don't want to sit down and accept this, but that's why. Okay? It's a part of the game, and in my opinion, until so-called black integrationists, because the black folks that matter, we understand this, but until the black integrationists sit down and accept that the civil rights failed you, this will continue to be a thing, in my opinion. But let's go.
You said if it couldn't work, then you would leave.
Yes.
Even if there was a family, even if there was kids involved.
If the other person is not willing to do the deep, hard work, then you stay. And when you stay, you have to make yourself smaller to stay, to survive.
1000% agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense what she said. You know what I'm saying? You know, if you're within a certain situation or a relationship or some, even when it gets down to being serious like that, you know, if you don't have anybody that's willing to sit down and try to work, all right, to actually fix the problem, and I believe it has to be between you and that person, because they'll get to this and I'll speak on it. I think she asked him, did he try to get help or whatever? But in my opinion, when you bring in a third party, unless they're there in a relationship with you, you become very dependent on that person, okay? And a lot of times it's like a psychologist or a counselor or something like that. And so that's why I say coaching is more important, because, with a counselor or something like that, you got to keep coming back to see them. That's how they make a living. Like I'm telling y'all about this mental health type stuff. Okay. But like, yeah, if you don't have anybody that's willing to try to, find a better understanding, all right, to fixing the problem. They don't want to pick up any other tools and things like that. They are who they are. Yeah, I mean, if you're the participating person in that situation and you feel like you're having problems, okay, that, you can see are affecting you, and you believe that it's going to stop you from being a better person tomorrow, it's going to stop you from giving to the community the way that you believe you should be giving back, the relationship, community, and situation, then yes, that might be the reality. And so, yes, I do agree with that. But, one of the preventative measures that you take is you're not someone that's going to be so quick to jump into a situation like that prematurely with somebody. Because in our belief and culture, we believe that most people do. All right, man, it should take you at least 3 to 5 years before you're deciding on marrying a woman or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Just speaking from a man's perspective. But a lot of people do. And the thing is, you get into these situations and, you start having these issues, and it kind of play out like what she's talking about. But yeah, let's keep going.
Or you may not. I think for a woman, it means you have to make yourself smaller to feel like you're fitting into this.
It's not. It's universal. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it could be either side. All right. It's a lot of dudes out here that are real small that have created monsters in these women. Okay, because the man, he's kind of like not really standing for anything, and the woman is a little out of control. Okay, and she's just kind of like getting worse. Okay, but it could happen either way. And I mean, y'all can kind of see what's going on with the Will and Jada situation. Okay, but like, yeah,
with this person who's not ready yet.
Right.
You can still love them, by the way.
Right.
You can still love them. You can still wish them the best. You can still, you might have moments where you want to cuss somebody out.
And see, that's the thing right there. And she's kind of right. You still can love somebody. And see, that's how they play the game. See, on one sense, they'll talk like, love is love. Yeah, you can still love someone, but it's not going to be enough to, repair the relationship or ensure that the relationship is going to be what it should be tomorrow. All right. And that's what I want to say, man. Love it should never be the basis of what a relationship should be. Okay, or the quality of a relationship should not be on the basis of love, man. All right, love is just an emotion, okay, and it could come and go. All right, the more important thing you want to start with is respect and value, okay, and those are the fundamentals. And see, this is one of the reasons why a lot of these other groups, okay, coming from these foreign lands, they're coming over here and they're becoming more dominant. Their family structures are better. And a lot of their makeup is not on the basis of love, okay? A lot of these people believe you can learn to love somebody, all right? Meanwhile, over here in the West, relationships are at an all-time low as far as success rate. Yet people are still parading, running around here talking about love this, love that, love blah, blah, blah. That's what this whole show was about for real. All right. It was about love and this and that, man. truth of the matter is, when is the West going to understand that you have to have a better standard? Okay. And so, yeah, I just really wanted to say that. Let's go ahead and keep going.
Like, that's normal. Like, we have feelings and emotions, but you can love people right where they are.
Right.
Because to me, that's really a sign of my own personal growth. If you can love the person that hurt you,
Right. But you mean love them from afar?
you love them from afar,
Right.
you wish them well, you bless them on their journey, and you hope that the next time around
Right.
that they have the opportunity to do the work, that they do the work.
What happens when you're a man and you want nothing more than that, right?
Yeah.
And that's not what you're getting on the other side. And there are kids involved, right? And there's somewhat love there, and you understand that somebody else might have their thing,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not taking this journey with you of healing, because I think love is two people healing together.
Yep.
And see, that's the thing. He kept talking about love this and love that. You know, I'm thinking to myself, dude, I can see why you got played. You know, I mean, they sitting around here talking about it's a possibility Jenny might cheated on him, but I don't know. But I know that, I mean, I believe I know, seeing with my thinking, that she didn't really have no respect for this dude. Okay? And obviously we can see that he never really required it. Okay? No respect required. All right? This dude is sitting around and talking about love this and love that, and somebody being on a healing journey with you. Dude, were you looking for a mama or a woman? All right? You know? And that's just the truth of the matter, man, because when this dude speaks on his past as far as his childhood and his childhood drama and things, and you kind of hear him say what he's saying, man, as a man, and I've talked to y'all about this before, you know, this is one of the reasons why as a man, you take time, you know what I'm saying? You have your space before you get into these serious situations of having children and, you know, marrying women and stuff like that, so you can get your mind right. All right? It ain't proper for you to be pulling up on a woman talking about, I need you to go on a healing journey with me. Unless within that situation, y'all get married, y'all serious, y'all down, something happens within that situation. Okay? But if you're the measure of a man or whatever, you still ain't gonna come at her like that. All right? This dude out here talking like he was looking for a mama. But what is it? He's promoting that mother-child relationship. All right, that's all this is. This is a byproduct of that. But let's go ahead and keep going.
Each other the space to do so. And the thing for me is, when I went to visit my mother that day, I went to forgive her, but I also went to.
Okay, so I wanted to go ahead and stop on that little part right there. We're gonna switch on over to another part of the clip, okay, and continue to speak from there. Let's go.
As Black people, this is a beautiful time for us to be inspired by each other.
Right.
To be able to say we no longer have to have this experience on this planet in this small vacuum.
Right.
Where we are of service to the world. And when I say to the world, I mean to white pop culture.
Right.
And so I wanted to stop right there. Number one, I wanted to say, why did you make it specific? Okay? Like, we're supposed to be like that to everybody else. Okay? That's number one. That really made no sense. But again, she's a celebrity over there, and one of the things that they do, the obsession is to keep Black folks focused on so-called white people. Okay? That's what it's about. That's how every other group, including a lot of so-called white folks, you know, that's how they benefit. Okay? That's a part of the game. It's a part of the dynamic in this paradigm. Black folks gotta have this crazy obsession with so-called white people. All right? And so that's the reason why she said that. But I'm thinking like, yeah, it should be like that for no matter who. All right. And then another thing she mentioned was like, we're no longer in this time or whatever. But you would think that that should have came with the 60s, right? With the civil rights. Okay. That, like, right? History should have already been built on that for a few generations. But you saying that today? So what changed that was different in the civil rights than today? Okay? It just let y'all know that the civil rights was a joke. But the truth of the matter is, black folks had a lot more of that going on before the civil rights. Okay, so what she's talking about, we actually lost that time. Okay? You know, when you think about various things, just thinking about that whole, I think, Alabama situation on the boat dock or whatever, you hear and find out that it was a so-called black man that created the folding chair. Okay, that's what we had going on a lot more, okay, before the 60s. So what she's talking about, you know, really didn't make no sense there to me. But again, she's a celebrity, and a part of their job is to sell to you that you shouldn't look and be critical of the civil rights and what happened after that. You should believe that, yeah, we are in a better place, even though despite black people collectively not moving anywhere. Today, all you got is a bunch of black integrationists on the scene. You know what I'm saying? Contributing to you know, all of these other people and the power and position that they have. But yeah, man, let's go ahead and hit play.
Now there are tools and examples and people and practices in place that can inspire us in a different way.
That's what I'm saying. Her saying that right there, that made absolutely no sense if you know real history. Okay? You know what I'm saying? Because we had that going a lot more, way more, okay, before now. So, you know, she's sounding pretty clueless to me. Let's go.
I was, 9 years old wanting to be an actress. When I was little Nia, there were like very few people I could look up to and say, oh, that's who I want to be.
Right.
And so she tried to really turn it into the whole actress thing. Because, yeah, that might have been a lane where it was more about them. They had the keys there. But she's not talking about the examples that actually mean something, all right, to a community. Actually being sustained and growing to be more meaningful to the people that make the community what it is, all right? Which is things like engineers, doctors, lawyers, teachers, things like that. All right. We had a lot more of that going on. Okay. And that's just the truth of the matter. That's one of the reasons why the civil rights was put into the game, because those other groups of people, they wanted to benefit from it before we continued to flip it. And so that's just the truth of the matter.
We've cracked that a little bit,
Right.
a lot of it.
Right.
So now I think what you're saying is, we all have the choice. We have the choice to decide when and where we're going to get the mental health support that we need. But you got to want it.
And I just wanted to stop right there. Yeah, you got the choice, but where are you going to get it that's going to benefit you the most? Okay. And, you know, we kind of been hitting on it on this video. And I've talked about it in the past. All right. This whole mental health industry and things like that has been around forever. Yet this country is worse. The country is worse off. All right. The reason why is because at a commercial level, which means outside of a community and culture, mental health is a cash grab. And then again, to repeat this again to black people, they like to have these black celebrities sit around and talk this mental health stuff to make you believe that that's what you should be more invested in and focused on, versus being worried about improving community and stuff like that. All right? Because the truth of the matter is, even if you were getting something like that, going back to the source of it, that ain't gonna fix it. Okay? And so they like to just try to tell you you crazy. All right? That's all that's about. That's the problem. You need to go out here and run into some of these doctors that need to make this money off of you and to solve your issues. No.
And I think the stigma behind mental health, especially with Black men, is huge.
It's a weakness.
It's a weakness, and
it ain't a weakness. Okay? Like I told y'all, it ain't a weakness. And the thing is about the so-called black man, there is nothing out here really for the so-called black man in his favor. Okay? Mental health is not really designed around understanding the so-called black man and addressing the real issues that he has out here in this society. And the reason why is because if the so-called black man was addressing successfully the issues and stuff that he has in this society, okay, it would unravel a lot of the nonsense going on. All right? So they need you to pull up to these places in order for you to get a better understanding about how they want you to function. All right? But like I said before, coaching, all right, in my opinion, is one of the best things a man can have today. All right? You need tools, man, not indoctrination. And that's just the truth of the matter. Now, I'm not taking away. There may be some people out here that, you know, need to be in the loony bin. All right? That just is what it is. But we're talking about the haystack, not the needles. So, yeah, let's go ahead and hit play.
reality is your brain is a muscle like anything else on your body. If you can go to the gym and lift weights, then you should be able to sit down with someone and exercise that muscle in between your ears.
And I agree with that part that she said right there. But it's about who you're sitting down with. Okay? Who you need to be making that effort to sit down and make it work with. All right? We got to stop believing that it's about sit down with these strangers outside of our communities and cultures. All right? It's not about that. You got to learn how to be able to sit down with your brethren, man. Okay? I don't care what they talking about. Your family, your community, your culture. And so, yeah. But that's the end of that little clip right there. We're going to get into, I believe, is the last little clip that I caught. All right. And we're going to speak on what they say there and wrap it up. I think this is the last part, but let's go.
Clear ever since. And I always put everybody else first.
Me too.
And I never put myself first.
Never.
You know,
I know.
And I've tried to love everyone that's came in my life. Everyone. Like the best way I could. Not to say that I know what love is or I know what these things are, but the best way I know how. And I always got the short end of the stick.
I mean, I think it is one more little piece, but him saying that, I mean, it's just such a pander job that this guy is talking. You know what I'm saying? Because he's putting himself in the shoes of the woman. Because when you listen to a lot of the issues and the complications that the women have out here, is they did all of this for a man, and you know they were loving him, and he played her in the end. And so at the end of the day, he had to put himself first. Okay, you know, I mean, you could have put a woman in that, and it wouldn't have lost a beat. You know what I'm saying? But the truth of the matter is he's pandering. But what I want to say about that is, you know, one of the things about society, the society that we live in, we're never really taught to reevaluate, okay, and try it again. Okay, actually take accountability for what we did and then try it again. I spoke about this on what I believe is one of my favorite videos. Okay, it's not popular or whatever, but that is just speaking about a man. That's the origins of a simp. Okay, that's what a simp does. You know, they keep knocking their head against the wall and they believe because I did it in good faith and good favor, I was being nice and stuff like that. They don't believe they need to change or they need to go about fixing the way that they go about things. All right. What they do is they just have resentment, and instead of circling the block, going back to evaluate and address how they did it, they just say, "Oh, I'm just gonna make it about myself now." All right. And when you do it that way, whether you're a man or a woman, for real, you put yourself in a position of missing out, okay, on everything that you might have wanted out of that situation that you did not get. Okay. Yeah, you can kind of live in the moment and live somewhere else saying, yeah, it's about me now. And you can get the rewards. But the truth is, as humans, we're made to want to be around and accepted among other humans, whether it's a small circle or a big one. Okay. So in my opinion, what he's talking about is just instant gratification. And since he's trying to talk about the woman, this happens to women a lot. A lot of women get out here and get on that tip. All right. But, they kind of still turn around and realize, man, I'm still not getting everything that I wanted, and that's the truth. We say this all the time, you got to make sure your side of the street is clean first. Okay. For you can let anything that pull up and come through. Okay. And so, yeah, I wanted to say that, that's game, that's pandering. And in my opinion, it's toxic pandering because it don't help women. You know what I'm saying? The group that he's trying to pander to right there. And so, yeah, we got one last clip, though. We going to go ahead and speak on it and wrap it on up.
Yeah, you can't. The real thing is like, I don't like to fail in anything.
Me either.
And,
I don't want to lose. I don't want to fail.
I don't want to fail, especially when I know what
you've poured in.
Right. And, as I sit across from you, like I can only be responsible for myself.
True.
And I can only do what I can do. Right. And I can't expect someone else to do what I'm doing.
But did you go to therapy with her?
And so, I was really trying to pick up on what he was saying. I can only be responsible for myself. But the truth of the matter is, man, when you go into a situation like he went into, you're not just responsible for yourself. Okay? And it don't just start with you and stuff like that, because he said that, and I want to say it right here. It's not an all or nothing thing, man. You don't get into this mode of saying, like I just said, I'm just going to be by myself. You reevaluate how you went about things. Okay. There are some things that maybe you should have had more boundaries with. Okay. Meanwhile, there were other things that probably you should have been more focused on. And so that's, if it makes any sense, like kind of like what I'm saying, if y'all understand what I'm saying, you can't make it just like a all or nothing thing. You got to have things, you got to prioritize things. All right. You just don't lock everything up. Like I said, you will miss out on a lot of things.
Okay, that's good.
Right.
So you actually addressed it,
Right.
tried to work through it, tried to do the work, and it just was like not happening.
Okay, and so he kind of like said that he tried to do the work, and I think they were talking about the relationship or whatever, which I thought, added to the somewhat mid of this whole conversation, because, they are entertainers. They are upfront. I wasn't really looking to get to know him technically really like that. I was looking to see what he was going to talk about so that we can use as a backdrop to share a greater message. But I think towards the end, he was kind of like talking about he tried to fix things with the girl Jenny Ma. I mean, I don't think there was anything he could do because he failed from the start. Okay, by how kind of like how he got into it with her from the jump. Okay, so it seems as if to me the relationship was somewhat, meant to go the way that it did. And so yeah, I mean, those are the things I really wanted to speak on. Okay, I think that a lot of the stuff that they were talking about in there was kind of deceptive, and they were kind of like selling an agenda, if not that, his book and his album. Okay, and so yeah, that's pretty much what I think about it. You know, but I tell y'all all the time, man, as long as y'all don't allow these entertainers to be a representation of who you are, you good. Okay, this is a good backdrop for greater messages. 300.